Here's Joy Reid. Joy Reid. Yeah, you heard that right. You heard that right. You did not mishear that. Here's Joy Reid on Israel's response. Here's what she has to say about this.
These bombings are being done using our tax dollars. Perhaps we should ask some questions. For example, how does bombing a densely populated land strip filled 50% with children constitute self-defense? How does bombing hospitals, churches, mosques, and UN schools constitute self-defense? Well, you say if Hamas fighters are hiding in the hospital using the civilians as human shields, okay, let's say they are. Are you arguing that flattening the hospital and killing newborns in their incubators and their moms in the NICU, cancer patients, someone with a broken leg, the doctors, nurses, and just the women and kids hiding in the hospital, that's not a war crime? Because you would be wrong, according to international law.
There you go.
I mean, what the fuck? I honestly, I can't even believe that Joy Reid came out on the right side of this.
Well, look, this is what I said. What was it? Was it the last show? God, the days feel so long now. I can't even keep track of this. But in response to the bombing of the refugee camp, I put up the Piers Morgan tweet. And what did I say? I said, you have to, especially when you are making arguments to the Joy Reid audience, which is the dumbest television audience in the history of technology, right? You have to keep your arguments very, very simple. Very simple, right? I mean, we can learn the history of the conflict. We can make all kinds of theoretical cases and stuff. What you have to do, if you want to win an argument with a liberal on this and you want to convince them that you're right on this and that they should come to your position on this, you have to keep it as simple as possible because that is all they are capable of understanding. And that's the exact argument she makes here, which is look at the pictures you're seeing, look at the images. That's why I put this on the screen. Ask yourself, is this self-defense, right? Even if you're the dumbest shit lib of dumb shit libs, no one with a modicum of common sense can possibly look at this and say this is self-defense. They can look at an image like this and ask themselves, is this really self-defense? Do we actually buy that this is an act of self-defense? Most people, no matter how dumb or propagandized they are, most people will not look at this and say, yes, this constitutes an act of self-defense. They can't go there. Even the MSNBC audience can't go there. And that's why they're quicker to come around on this than they are on Ukraine, because Ukraine requires some knowledge, requires some analysis, requires some thought. You actually have to look into it a little bit to come to the right position on that. With this, it's all right in your face. Anybody can look at this and say, no, this is a war crime. Leveling a refugee camp like this is a war crime. It doesn't take a great mind or a great amount of research to come to that conclusion, which is why Joy Reid and her audience were able to get there. A few weeks too late, obviously, but at least she seems to be at this baseline.
Well, also, they were primed by 4 years of Russiagate to have a war to hang their Russophobia and irrational hatred of Russia and Russians on, right? They were very primed for that ahead of time. And also, as one, I wonder if he still has a job, I can't remember the name of the reporter, as one reporter had the poor taste to observe, they're white like us. Right. So there isn't that element of it. But, I mean, Joy Reid, I've always read her as somebody who doesn't have any particular principles, as somebody who's just working the levers. But her rhetoric has been very much in that decolonize school of thought, decolonize your mind, very anti-racism kind of rhetoric. And this demonstrates, looks like she actually meant it. Now, I don't know how much latitude these hosts have on breaking points. Crystal Ball was talking about this in regards to the Muslim anchors. As somebody who's worked at MSNBC, she was pointing out that still allowing them to guest on other people's shows was a cover-up, because you don't really have control when you're guesting like that, and the way
you don't put this stuff together
as a host.
So
do they not review what Joy Reid is going to say before she says it? Because I'm surprised that the higher-ups at MSNBC would have allowed something like that, because you know the kinds of phone calls they got after that aired.
It's very possible, yeah. But on the other hand, you know, this is why it's important to win the PR battle. This is why it's important to do what we're trying to do on our platform, but what all of you guys in the audience can do, which is get the word out on the internet. Use the internet, use social media, and use your body and your voice. Like, go to that rally tomorrow. If you can be in D.C. tomorrow, November 4th, 2 p.m., or find a rally near you that you can go out. Because the more the public makes known that they are on the correct side of this, the more incentive an outlet like MSNBC has to follow them, right? Like, look, MSNBC, at the end of the day, it's TV. They do not want to alienate their viewers. When a position becomes untenable, when the viewers abandon ship, it becomes riskier and riskier for them to try and toe the party line on this. Now, Fox News doesn't have as big a problem because the right is more sympathetic to Israel, broadly speaking, than even much of the liberal left. And that is the trap that they set for themselves with all of this woke shit, is that they programmed a lot of left liberals to oppose colonization, and now a war broke out between a colonizing power and an occupied population. This just flies too straight in the face of everything that liberals have been messaging for the past several years, to the point where if you're MSNBC, I mean, yeah, they don't like it. They still have plenty of pro-Israel programming. Obviously, Morning Joe, they bring on Donnie Deutsch. Why is Israel on trial here? I don't understand why Israel on trial. Talk about aging like milk.
They had him on the View.
Of the refugee camp. So hours after he said, why is Israel on trial, they bombed a refugee camp. And that seems to be the turning point.
What you're seeing, and this is where it's ripping their whole project apart, is you got these people who 5 minutes ago would have said, if you're using the term woke in a pejorative manner, you support racism, and you just don't want teachers teaching about the history of slavery. They're all writing these screeds. We were misled by woke. Now we see what it really is. So that you've got this shit-lib civil war going on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's not just the shit-libs. Who's that guy, the crying billionaire? We did this on our Patreon show.
Oh, Leon, Cooperman.
Yeah, Leon Cooperman. He comes out and says, I think these students have shit for brains. All of a sudden, they have shit for brains.
They didn't have shit
money into these universities for years. All of a sudden, now this week, they have shit for brains.
Yeah, they didn't have shit for brains when they were trapping Riley Gaines in a classroom for 3 hours for having the temerity to suggest that women should only have to compete against women in college sports. That was okay. They didn't say a word about that. I never heard a word. Nobody got expelled. Nobody got arrested for threatening her. There's video of people physically threatening her. Not one arrest. Now they got shit for brains?
Now, yeah, shit for brains.
When all of a sudden they're on the right side of something?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That just goes to show you.
Please clap.